And we're back here with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strawn, along with Laverne Gardner. We are talking with R.C. Ramming Jr. from ArawakX. And got a great text here. You can send your text messages again, 422-4796, or tweet us at Morning Blend at 969, or on Facebook, facebook.com/morningblend969. And call in 323-6232, 325-4316. 325-4259. All right, this text here, actually, White, this is the best time to invest. Now, ArawakX must explain the type of investments they do. It's a startup investment with risks, simplify the entry process, try to get the powers to allow you to set up a Robinhood type platform. But I respect the brothers' determination there. Okay, but Robinhood type platform. Do you get that? What do they mean exactly there?
Well, that's just a so Robinhood had during the pandemic really helped open the access for the average American to the financial markets. Mm-hmm. So they actually had about 20 million people sign up. You got to remember the U.S. is huge. Mm-hmm. So 20 million people were able to open up brokerage accounts. Were able to open up accounts and be able to buy shares because they did zero fee accounts. Mm-hmm. And so it's about, I mean, they called it Robinhood, which is I don't know if that I would agree with with that.
I'm not quite the same.
No, it's not quite the same.
No.
You're not taking from the rich to give to the poor. Mm-hmm. There are no communists around here. But in all seriousness, it is about democratizing access. Mm-hmm. And because, I believe in something that's called a property-owning democracy. And what that means is that we have the democracy part down. We got that. We can peacefully, with virtually no political violence. I mean, we're the envy of this side of the world when it comes to our political system. But in terms of our economic system, we're all asking the question. And when I say we're all asking, it's not political. People on both sides are asking the question. People in the community are asking the question. On the show, you guys are asking the question. Everybody's asking the question: how do we get this economy working? And what is our individual roles in doing that? Right. And so the property-owning democracy is basically it's just a society that's set up for you to buy and acquire assets of three kinds. The first is home ownership. People should be able to own their own homes. Mm-hmm. Second is cash savings. People should earn enough money so that they can have cash savings. And the third is investments. And the investments field is always growing, and it grows as the economy grows. So what we're doing as ArawakX is similar to Robinhood in terms of making it easier for people to access new kinds of investments. Yeah. There is risk. There's always risk when you're investing. There's no such thing as safe. In fact, profit is your reward for taking risk. Mm-hmm. So it's always important to remember that. Without risk, there is no profit. Mm-hmm. So that's something that people should keep in mind.
Yeah. All right. So what can you tell us about the 12 companies that you're talking about that are going to be coming on stream shortly?
I can tell you they're in a lot of different industries. Mm-hmm. So I'm in the weird position where I'm allowed to talk about the structure of the exchange, mm-hmm. and I'm not allowed to talk about non-public information. Okay. I do apologize. I know every time you get me on the show, you ask me the same thing. What can you give me a hint? And the answer is no.
Oh boy.
Compliance would be very, very upset with me, mm-hmm. and I don't want them to be upset with me.
All right. So let me ask you this: how many of these will be running at the same time? And is that an issue? Should there be one at a time? Give them some time so they don't compete with another company and people have to choose, oh boy, do I want this or that one? I can't do both. Or tell us about that. What have you determined?
I'm of the opinion, and I think we're of the opinion right now, that just let companies get out and tell their own story. Like I said, the type of person that is an investor in a construction type company is very different than an agricultural, is very different than a technology, is very different than an engineered product, is very different than a food business. So it's important for people to just get out there and tell their own stories. Yeah. We're just the platform. We really, I don't want to ever take the approach of trying to control the market.
Right,
That's not my job. My job is to make sure that people get their opportunity to tell their story.
Put them on a buffet table, let people decide what they want.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a supermarket.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to say, well, since we only have apples today, let's try and get everybody to buy apples.
Right.
No, people who don't want to buy apples are not going to buy apples. That's just the reality. So I think it's better to have the apples, the oranges, the peaches, the this, the that, and then let people decide, because they're going to decide.
Right.
They're either going to say yes, I like that, or they're going to sit on the sideline.
Yeah.
So you might as well give people this buffet. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that actually.
So are you saying all 12 will be at the same time?
It's up to compliance.
Yeah.
That's out of my control.
Okay.
I'm just the guy who makes sure that the computers work.
Okay.
And some of the legalese is there.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's take this caller. Caller, you're on Morning Blend Business. We're talking with DRC Ramming Jr. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Dwight.
Hi.
I'm astounded by the amount of calls. Yeah.
They're listening intently.
Yeah. That's my sarcasm. Anyway, I believe I jumped in a little late. Compliance, that word just came up there really quiet, and I didn't fully understand. Is up to compliance. I think we should allow Bahamians to perform in our country the same way anyone else can visit and perform. Whether it's FX Pro, FTX, the list goes on. I believe one of your guests said that assets weather the storm. Am I correct?
Yeah, I did say that.
Great, beautiful. Following with that trend of thought, what are the assets of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas? See, because we need a list. Because I think if we really had the list of the wealth and the assets of this country, we would understand with only a few 100,000 people, we should be riding the wave quite well. Let me direct you to why I said that. The World Bank and the IMF, and I have the paper in front of me, says that we're the third richest economy in North America, South America, Central America, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic Ocean in the hemisphere. So we must have some kind of asset to have achieved that rating from those two great entities. You agree?
Yes.
So I'm going to hang up now because I want to hear the list of assets that have put us at that level of ranking with 40-some countries in the hemisphere. So we got to start thinking and using logic. But I like what I'm hearing this morning because you're starting to go down that path. But compliancy. These two good things have happened in our country. Obviously, blockchain with the FTX and the FX Pro. Are we teaching our students how to embrace this fully? Because, if we have a great idea, if any of you had a great idea, and I'll wrap up with this, you could get crowd funding instantly if we could deal with compliance, the discrimination, the regulation, the control on the local. I had a Swiss banker tell me, Dwight, I don't want to be a part of your exchange control. He's leaving the country next month. How sad that he recognizes we've put controls on the locals and anyone else comes and benefits. Great show, guys.
Okay.
I'm going to see who calls and tells us about our assets that will weather the storm.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Well, I will say thank you for the call because it is about assets, right? It's always been about assets. What the best kinds, the type of asset that is forever, that has no limit, are companies, right? Companies are just legal frameworks around ideas. And as long as there are people, there will be ideas. There'll be ways of solving new problems. There'll be ways of doing new services. There'll be ways of extracting some of these commodities. I think that's what the caller was talking about. There'll be ways of doing all kinds of business. And what public companies do is they pull all of that into the light. And they allow the market, investors, to participate with their dollars. And ideally, so America has one of the greatest public markets because about 60% of Americans own stocks in their companies. And so no matter what happens in America, bad times come, COVID comes, financial crisis comes, whatever happens, their economy always rebounds because they own their companies. It's really that simple. When you they have a vested interest in making sure that their country works.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what the caller was getting to. And I am, without getting into, I think I agree with his overall philosophy. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty details of it, because obviously that is its own conversation. There's a lot of nuance in a conversation like that. But if he's saying that we should set up our societies where people can acquire more assets, I agree. Everybody should be able to acquire assets.
It goes back to what we've been hearing since we were young, right? People, if you go to a certain place, frequently people say, "Oh, you have shares in this place," right? But we don't. We don't here. We do that, and we don't. But imagine if you actually did. What a difference that could make.
What a difference it's going to make for our communities. Think about, it's just like your house, right? One of the reasons we, in some of the worst neighborhoods in our nation, you see very little graffiti, is because people own those buildings. And you're not going to tag up my building. I'm going to paint over it. I'm going to find you. I'm going to, so people take care of things that they own.
Yeah.
And it's the same with companies. So one of the things, Disney is a huge company because most people's 401k have a little bit of Disney stock in it.
Yeah.
So basically every American owns Disney. So guess what is going to happen? The world is going to collapse, and Disney is going to be right there, because they're going to take care of it. I'm just
scary actually, but yes, it likely will happen.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So it's we have to understand this. We as a nation have been underutilizing this aspect of our legal system, and it is a beautiful aspect of our legal system. One of the reasons a lot of these foreign companies are here is because we have strong protections of assets, which is the first step to be having great companies. We have that here. Our trust laws are the best trust laws in the world. So that's all about protection of assets, and so we can protect the assets once they've been created. Now it's about empowering the business people to create those assets. Yeah. So that's kind of what we do. That's why I could talk about it intimately.
Yeah.
Like I said, the other stuff like the housing and the cash savings, those are human rights. So I won't get too much into them. But I think people should be able to buy their own homes and especially young people.
Absolutely. All right. So we have to go back a little bit and explain for some folks who don't seem to quite get what we're talking about here. This person's saying, how is the share price determined? I feel like the entry price is too high for first-time investors.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if they explain to us. I think I'm not sure if that's accurate, but
okay.
The minimum investment was pretty low for these first few.
Yes. Right? So share price is not share price is kind of arbitrary, right? If you're going to be honest, because it's share price times the number of outstanding shares. So the number of outstanding shares can be as little as 5,000. Many companies are structured that way, or it can be as many as 100 million, or even I think I've seen 100 million before of those big public companies. So really, that share price is the total value of the company divided by the number of outstanding shares. And that's how you get to that share price. So oftentimes in other markets, the philosophy in like England has been to kind of keep the share price very low, so that they have they trade in pence, like they still price things in pence. Whereas the philosophy in America has been to have trade in the tens to hundreds of dollar range for most companies, and then companies like Tesla and them, they kind of spiral out, and then you'll often see them do a split, where they split the shares and they increase the number of shares, give people more shares to keep that price down. We are American-style capitalists, so our pricing of our shares is going to be most likely in the $10 to $20 range, because it makes it a little bit easier for people to understand. That's our belief. I mean, if you grew up doing British-style capitalism, I applaud you. Very different, a lot of different things. But the last 20 years, all the growth in the world has come out of the U.S. I suggest you I suggest you you start to look at how the Americans do business. They know how to do business much better than everybody else in the world. And so if I'm going to copy someone, I'm going to copy the A student in the class, not the B and the C students. So that's my philosophy. But it is but that's a very good question. So it's determined. Remember, it's the total value of the company is the number of outstanding shares times the current share price, and then it's divided by those shares. So that's how we get to it.
But your buy-in was pretty low,
comparatively
speaking.
Yes, it is. So what does that mean? What does that mean to the average guy? Good question. What it means to the average guy is there's always minimums that are set. So even if the share price is $1 a share, the minimum could be $50,000. What we chose to do was because we have a lot of technology that takes care of all of the administrative work. We actually can manage accounts for dollars a month. So for us, we chose to lower the barrier all the way down to even if the high school student, just graduated and is able to put all he has $25. I'd rather him own one share in one company than have to wait and to save. And oftentimes that's impossible,
right?
Given our current economics. So our philosophy was lower the barriers to entry, let people touch this tool, let people see. They're going to start to get the information like the financial statements and the board reports, and participate in an annual general meeting. Right. And once you get into that flow, it's just a process of learning. You just learn. And so we wanted to do that. And
that was with all three. The minimum was
25. 25, and then it was 16 for the other two. So it's going to depend. I don't set the minimum price. There's a whole structure and committee that does that, along with the founder. But like I say, share price is not. After the share starts to trade, the market decides what the share price is. But in the initial outlay, it's kind of an institution that decides.
And you didn't have to buy more than that if that's all that you could afford.
That's right.
Right.
And that's
with some other securities we see around.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Texture, I don't know. I think that was a pretty accessible number there to get in on this, as DRC says, and then go from there once you see how it works. So yeah. All right. This.
And great question, by the way. Great question. People don't know. People don't understand this stuff.
This person says, I like what you all are doing. I personally did this for myself 20 years ago. I have my own brokerage account in the States. I don't listen to politicians or go through the bureaucracy of the Bahamas. Ask DRC to set a share offering for the airport in Freeport. They'll be trying to do that soon if the government will allow them. Is that something that's a possibility?
The market needs to build up to that. $60 million is not a lot of money in the world, but it takes markets take time. They're exponential by their nature, so they take time to build into the ability. And if you do things right, they take off. I mean, look at America's financial system. I mean, it took time to build, but now that it's pumping and going, there's nothing on this planet that can stop their markets. I mean, it's amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Well, actually, I just want to say, if we do crowdfunding for the airport in Grand Bahama, I have my $25.
Okay. I think with the right business model,
that could work.
Oh yeah. I mean, airports can be incredible. I mean, if anyone's traveled through Atlanta and seeing just I think that airport has like 110 million people pass through it or something. I mean, something stupid. I mean, it's like
one of the busiest in the world.
Yeah, it's they can really work, but that's its own business.
Yeah.
So, who knows? Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds?
Okay. All right. So, what is next? What are you going to be doing? Like an immediate thing.
Immediately, there's some. So there is a couple of companies right at the Securities Commission that we're like at the last stages for new companies, so they're going to be listed. We are going to be, I've been talking with people in terms of different communities that are out there, in terms of helping to support and develop what are these things called incubators. So you're going to see us doing a little bit more of that. You're also going to see more of our tie-ins with the international, especially America. So that's immediately coming from us. On the incubator side, incubators, I love incubators. I was actually one of the first in my university's cohort in the States to ever go through the university incubator.
Wow.
So I love them. You need common places to talk about business. And then the finance people can come in and support. But businesses, I really encourage people to participate in business as of course, as a employee, a worker, learn how you can add value and be the most valuable player there, but then also as an investor, because then you learn how to look at the business from the outside and analyze it. And then if you so choose, the riskiest side of it all is the founder, where that's the riskiest part, creating something from nothing.
Right.
And so most people don't have that risk profile or that appetite or the appetite for pain, I call it, because there's a lot of pain. But so if you're not in that category, you can still participate by finding the crazy people that are able to do that and supporting them.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of how it works, and that's
a good
what we're
idea.
doing.
Wonderful stuff. Okay, DRC Ramming, keep us posted. Definitely want to hear more, especially when those companies when they make their announcements. But thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, and thank you for having the show. And I want to just say for this station and generally, it's great to elevate the conversation. We have to elevate the conversation and start as a nation, stop talking about people and events and start talking about ideas and how to monetize those ideas. It's only our ideas that is going to pull us out of this rut as an economy, not people and events. Those are reactionary kind of conversations. You have to get proactive about this stuff if we're going to, transform our country into what it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. DRC Ramming Jr. with ArawakX. Thanks a lot. How can people reach you all?
So you can reach us at ArawakX.com. That's the best way. Sign up there. All of our contact information is there. We're trying to roll everything through there. So
great stuff. All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Laverne Gardner, that is it for us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. I'll talk with you next week. I'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend and Morning Blend Business right here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strawn, have a great one. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green coming up next.